June 22nd, a day of silence from the skies, broken by the thunder of stealth bombers over Iran. But as the smoke cleared, one question echoed across intelligence halls, war rooms, and political chambers: did America actually stop Iran's nuclear program, or just buy itself time? The Pentagon's newly released report offers a sobering reality check. On that day, the United States launched coordinated airstrikes using B-2 Spirit bombers, the most advanced stealth aircraft in the American arsenal, targeting 3 major nuclear facilities deep inside Iranian territory. These were not symbolic strikes. These were precision-guided, high-stakes missions intended to cripple Iran's nuclear capability once and for all. At the time, U.S. leadership, particularly former President Donald Trump, declared it a monumental success. Donnan, in his usual commanding style, publicly claimed that these airstrikes had completely destroyed Iran's nuclear ambitions, even going so far as to say the Iranian program had been rolled back by multiple decades. The world was told that Iran's nuclear threat had been decisively neutralized. But now, the official analysis from the Pentagon paints a very different picture. According to this internal review, the reality is far less dramatic and far more complex. The strikes, though tactically successful in terms of targeting accuracy and immediate disruption, did not destroy Iran's nuclear program. Instead, the report says, they likely only delayed progress by 1 to 2 years. That means Iran's scientists, infrastructure, and uranium stockpiles are not gone, just temporarily set back, and the claim of a decades-long roll grossly overstated. This is not just a military discrepancy. It is a credibility gap that has significant implications for diplomacy, deterrence, and public trust. The narrative clash between Donald's dramatic post-strike proclamation and the Pentagon's measured, intelligence-based evaluation now raises questions about how military success is defined and communicated. Was Donald misinformed, overly optimistic, or politically motivated? Or is the Pentagon underplaying the effects for strategic ambiguity? In global affairs, perception often carries as much weight as reality. Iran, for its part, has maintained a conspicuous silence, choosing not to confirm or deny the scale of the damage. This silence has been interpreted by analysts in 2 ways. Either the damage was manageable, or Iran is regrouping quietly while assessing its next move. But according to the Pentagon spokesperson, there is no evidence that Iran managed to move enriched uranium off-site before the strikes, suggesting that while the sites were hit, the core materials were likely still present and potentially exposed. However, the report also clarified that there was no complete destruction of any single facility. Structural damage, yes. Functional paralysis, possibly. But permanent elimination, no. This limited impact fuels concerns that airstrikes, even the most precise ones, cannot erase knowledge. Scientists remain, blueprints remain, intent remains, and perhaps most importantly, resolve remains. Iran's nuclear ambitions are not just a technological project, they're a strategic doctrine, deeply embedded into its national security framework. So the question becomes, what exactly did the U.S. achieve on June 22nd? At best, it bought time. At worst, it triggered a new phase of covert acceleration. And as Donald doubled down on his earlier claims, critics argue that such exaggeration could damage U.S. credibility, especially when hard facts come to light. Allies may begin to question the reliability of American intelligence reporting, and adversaries may become emboldened by the discrepancy between what was promised and what was actually delivered. The Pentagon's admission that Iran's program has been pushed back rather than destroyed suggests a new strategic reality. Preemptive strikes, no matter how technologically advanced, offer only short-term results in the age of dispersed, digitalized nuclear programs. Iran, unlike the past, does not house all of its capabilities in 1 or 2 locations. The infrastructure is spread, the operations are secretive, and in many ways, the program has become and that's why many experts believe that true disarmament must come from sustained diplomacy and international pressure, not just aerial raids. Trump's narrative, however, was framed in absolute terms: victory, destruction, domination. And for his supporters, that language resonates. It reflects strength, decisiveness, action. But within the Pentagon's walls, where metrics are measured in hard data, satellite imagery, and post-operation drone footage, the language is far more cautious. Even success is relative. Yes, the bombers hit their marks. Yes, Iran's operations were disrupted. But no, this was not a knockout blow. And for many within the defense establishment, overstating such outcomes could lead to miscalculations by both friends and foes. Meanwhile, the Iranian regime now faces a critical decision. Does it treat these strikes as acts of war, or as provocation meant to deter? Does it accelerate its enrichment quietly to compensate for the setback? Or does it engage in diplomatic channels, using the time bought by the U.S. strikes to leverage concessions? So far, there are no clear signs of retaliation, and that, too, is strategic. Iran has learned from past responses. Sometimes, silence can carry more pressure but that silence is also laced with calculation. and history suggests it won't last forever. This entire episode also signals a growing gap between political narratives and military intelligence. It is a reminder that modern warfare is not just fought on the battlefield, but in press rooms, tweets, and televised addresses. What leaders say can shape markets, morale, and international posture. But if those words are not grounded in fact, they can backfire. The world remembers similar episodes, from exaggerated mission accomplished declarations to missing weapons of mass destruction. And each time, the consequences have eroded public trust. In this case, the Pentagon's transparency, though late, may serve to recalibrate expectations. It's not an admission of failure. It's a reality check. A reminder that military power has limits, and that even the most advanced bombers cannot obliterate an idea, especially when that idea is entrenched in national policy. Moving forward, the Biden administration and its successors must grapple with how to handle Iran's likely regrouping. Will the next steps involve more strikes, covert sabotage, sanctions, or an attempt to revive diplomacy in a region already aflame with tensions from Gaza to Syria to Lebanon? The world is watching not just what America did, but what it does next. In the meantime, Donald continues to frame the June 22nd strikes as a defining moment of American strength under his strategy. But behind the political curtain, generals and analysts know the truth. This was a temporary tactical win, not a strategic victory. And perhaps most critically, this event forces a deeper question for the global audience. If even the world's most powerful military can permanently disable a nuclear program, what does real security look like? Is it preemption, containment, diplomacy, or a fragile mix of all three? As the dust settles over Iran's damaged but not destroyed facilities, the answer remains unclear. But what is clear is this: wars may start with explosions, but they end or linger in the shadows of truth, strategy, and political honesty.